everybody. Sue Lundquist here, the Bridge Coach. This is day one, craziness to clarity. You are here, and I am so excited to get started. And honestly, you've done step one, and everything in all the curriculum that I talk about, awareness is the first step. So somewhere, somehow, there's been a squeaky wheel, and you have been aware, and there's some questions that haven't been answered, and quite honestly, you followed your inner guidance and your intuition. So I am very proud of you for that. And look, you've already done step one, so you're almost, well, I was going to say you're almost done, but that's not true. That would not be me speaking in integrity. So today we are learning and educating about awareness and having awareness of what our subconscious and conscious looks like and what that is in our brain. I'm going to show you a couple pictures. I want to remind all of you, you'll get a worksheet, and then you'll also get follow-up notes afterwards. But make sure that you are taking copious notes because there's some things that I don't put in the notes, just so I know that you guys are paying attention. I know, tricky of me, but it's good because I want to make sure that it's being retained and the information is going in your brain. And that's important because I'm giving you, you've got the awareness, I'm giving you the education, and then you're going to process the new education on how it feels for you. And then you'll integrate it into your body, your frequency, into your life. So it's really important that you have that process and that sequence. So the conscious and subconscious. So I'm going to tell you the definition. Actually, I'll show you a picture. So there's some people out there that talk extensively about subconscious and conscious beliefs and the brain and all of that. If you haven't already heard me talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza, he's another really good trusted resource. I happened to find this image by Noah St. John, and he talks about the subconscious is 90%. That's stuff that's underneath that we really don't even realize it's an inner old program that doesn't serve us, but just somehow, somewhere, we saw it on TV, we had an old boyfriend, an old girlfriend, something happened that's triggered us. That is deep. It could be a parental value, something that's deep inside of you. You don't even realize that it's even there. It's your subconscious. And then only 10%. The above is your conscious, your aware, awake state. So now you see why awareness is number one. This is a huge example of how much stuff we've got underneath in our subconscious that could be old programming. It's a really good visual for those visual people. You can get some more information from Noah St. John if you'd like to. Here's another image, and I know it's going to be backwards, but I couldn't figure out how to print it. But this talks about the subconscious, this being your personality. So we did the iceberg underneath, right? So your personality is at 90%, the makeup of your personality. And it goes into 95%, 90%. We've got some, it's either 90 or 95%, depending on the consensus and who's talking. And then that top 5% or 10% for your conscious belief. But I just wanted to kind of show you, this is made up, that big chunk that I told you about from Noah St. John, that 90% is your personality. So what values, what morals, what decisions, where in your mind are you making these choices? Because a lot of them are subconscious because we're just on a program, right? Something that you just think to be true, know to be true. I've got a great analogy for this, and I talked about this in one of my other classes. And I hope I don't butcher up this story a bit, but in a nutshell, this is what I mean by you've got a subconscious belief that you don't even really realize where it came from. So the story goes something like this. It's either Christmas morning or Thanksgiving afternoon or whatever. And we've got 3 or 4 generations of women standing in the kitchen fixing the meal. And the young daughter, she's chopping off the ham on either sides, right, to put it in the pan. And the great grandma looks at her granddaughter and says, well, why are you cutting the ends of the ham off? And she says, well, because mom did it. And mom looked at her mom, grandma, and said, well, because you did it. You always cut the ends of the ends off when I was growing up. So I did it. And then I taught my daughter to do it. And great grandma just starts chuckling. She said, sweetheart, I cut the ends of the ham off to have it fit in the pan. Take that in for just a second. It had nothing to, somehow, somewhere in that generation of those women, it became their tradition. When in fact, grandma's sitting there going, oh my heavens, no. It was just because it just didn't fit in the pan. I had to cut it so it would fit in the pan. Boy, we can use that from all kinds of different analogies. So I hope that helps, because you've got so many subconscious beliefs that just don't serve you. It could be your environment, it could be the TV, it could be the news, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute. So let's talk about personal awareness tools and stuff that's within yourself, similar to the example that I just gave you. I'm going to give you 3 tools, and they're big doozers. So I want you to get the big boy panties on, big girl panties on, and hang on. These questions alone that I'm going to give you will take some time to process and integrate. So again, yes, these are easy tips and tools, but it will evolve as you do. And then you'll get to a point where, okay, that feels good. I'm comfortable. It's time to expand again. And guess what? These tools will expand and help you evolve too. Hence the template for transformation. It evolves with you. So here's some questions I'd like you to ask yourself. These are awareness questions. So when, I'm reading my notes. Okay, so I've got 10 questions here I want you to ask yourself, and these will be on the follow-up notes, but I want you to write them down if you could, please. Awareness to who am I? What do I want to do? Genuinely, really get into that. Not what mom, not what dad, not what spouse, not what kids, not what an old program. Really look at that. Be brave. Be conscious, be aware, and really feel into that and feel, what do I really want to do? How am I behaving? This is really important. How am I behaving by myself? How am I behaving with that pocket of people? How am I behaving with that pocket of people? Really start to get into awareness if that is truly how you want to show up. And if not, we're going to talk about tips that will get you to change. Who am I authentically being, and around who? So in your environment, do you feel that you have a trusting environment where you can truly feel to be yourself? And if you can't, we'll talk about tips and tools to change that as well. But this is for you, again, to really be in awareness, to really start putting on a new pair of glasses, right? It's you, my loves. It's just version 2.0. And I'm going to help you through that. I know some of this can be stressful, and it can be, at least you think it can be stressful, but just bear with me here. We're going to release some of those dopamines instead of the stressors. So let's go on to, that was number 4. Number 5, who and how. It's more, who do I aspire to be, or how do I aspire to act? Are there people in your environment that you really like their morals, their values, their personality traits? It's not that you have to be them. There's bits and pieces. It's like, try on the hat, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, alter it. And if that works, great. If it doesn't work for you at all, move right along. Keep on going. 6, do I speak my truth? Really important for having personal awareness. This is all questions too within personal awareness and building that confidence that I talked about in the welcome video too. Do I speak my truth? Number 7, what is my truth? Whew, that's you getting really clear on what is my truth? How am I showing up? And how do I want to show up? Super valuable. So 7 is, what is my truth? 8, what does the situation teach me? This is really important. So if you are in a situation, good, bad, or indifferent, it's all, for me, it's all a lesson it's an opportunity to learn something new, which then is in that moment when you're learning something new, that's your evolution. You'll do better next time if it is that type of situation. But in any of those learning environments, you'll have a new experience, a new neural pathway that you can do better next time. So that was 8. What does that situation teach me? 9. What are my personal values? I spoke about that a minute ago, about personal values and morals. Really look at that. Number 10 is what are my morals? What are my personal values? What are my morals? And you can find more information. There's a little I'm Thankful journal that I gave you guys, and I gave you a really defined definition of morals and values. All right, guys, so on personal values, there was a handout, actually a PDF handout that I gave you. This is like a book that I offer my international clients because I needed something for them tactile. So you have the PDF. You also will have a Craziness to Clarity workbook as well. It's a companion workbook to help follow along. And you'll get follow-up notes, and you should have the worksheets as well. So you've got lots of information. You've got lots of places to doodle and write. I'm not selling this. This was just something I made for my international clients. But why am I bringing this out to you now? It's because I just spoke to you about personal beliefs and values. And this is really important. Let's define self-acceptance. I'm going to go through this because when I go through the definition, there's a reason. You will now have a new awareness, a new education on their definition, their meaning. So you can now make different choices. You have a new neural pathway being defined too. Let's define self-acceptance as it refers to your personal value and also to the fact you are alive, aware, or conscious. As in knowing yourself, your personality, your virtues, your morals, and your boundaries, both personally and professionally. So we're going to start with some definitions, like I said. So personal values are core beliefs, values, and philosophies that we hold about life, its purpose, and its own purpose. So do you remember we had this? We may not know what those morals and values are because a lot of them could be subconscious beliefs. So that's why we're starting with awareness and talking about how important that beautiful brain is. So self-respect and self-esteem for me go hand in hand. Self-esteem is a term used in psychology to reflect a person's overall emotional evaluation of his or her own growth. It is a judgment of oneself as well as an attitude towards self. That's self-esteem, the definition. Self-esteem encompasses belief. For example, I am competent. I believe I am competent. I am worthy. It's a belief, right? That's self-esteem. And emotions such as triumph, pride, that shame. We're going to get into that little shame bugger too later on down the road. I know. So be forewarned, I get goofy and there may be a swear word in there, but I'll try and contain myself on the swear words, not the goofiness or the love or the support or the enthusiasm. All right, number 3, what is your family value and culture? Also called family code of conduct, something that I use. So you'll hear me refer to the word personal code of conduct, which is your PCC. That's what we're establishing right now, your personal code of conduct. Or your family code of conduct. It could be your business code of conduct. All of that. It's your culture, your philosophy, your values, your morals on how you show up in life. So again, what is your family value or culture? Also called family tradition. Is defined of attitudes, ideas, and ideals and environments. To remember, that's subconscious. All of that. So a lot of that stuff, your ideals, your traditions, that ham analogy of cutting it to fit in the pan, all of those that you inherited that you didn't even realize that you got, that could have been from your parents or ancestors, just like great grandma cutting the ham off to fit in the pan. is the embodied values, principles, and practices underlying the social fabric of a business, which permeate its actions and connects its stakeholders to each other, to the company's purpose, people, and processes. So that's really important for you to look at that, because you, even though that was a reference for a company, but this is really good because I've spoken to entrepreneurs about really getting clear about what their culture is and their personal code of conduct, how they themselves as an entrepreneur starting a new business are going to represent themselves. What is their business code of conduct? So this is a really good example. If you're an entrepreneur, get really clear on that. You can look at your name and your personal value and your morals and decide that's how I'm showing up for my business. You can do that for your personal code of conduct. This is how I'm going to show up as me. This is how I'm going to base my choices as me. So belief. Oh, so the culture, I was going to go back to that. So culture is glue that connects people to each other and to family and company. So it's important to really get clear on what your personal code of conduct and that culture looks and feels like, and how you want to represent yourself, whether it's personal or business. Super, super important. So if you're an entrepreneur or business owner and you don't have a sense of your culture or your personal values, your personal code of conduct, your company code of conduct, this is really, really important. Let's get really clear, because especially in business, if you have an internal expectation of how you expect your employees to be, but you haven't written that down in your code of conduct, you haven't written that down in your morals and values and how your culture is going to be, then how do they know? How do your employees know that that's how you are showing up to represent their company, your company? Super, super important. So get really clear. And when you hire people, you talk to them about the culture and you ask them, does this culture fit in truly, genuinely to your personality? Very, very important. So belief is a psychological state in which an individual holds proposition, and also known as their truth, and they hold to be true. Emotional proposition, primary bearers of truth, value, belief, and other attitudes, what I believed and or doubted. So morals, a person's standard of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them. It's a really good one. Morals and boundaries too, because basically boundaries are what's acceptable and what's not. But you first have to get clear on what that looks like to you. Then you are able to set up the boundaries. And we'll get to boundaries and languages further down, but hang on. So those, I gave you 10 questions. I gave you some really good information about why it's important to have that self-awareness, your personal values, your personal code of conduct, a company code of conduct, that culture. I gave you 10 questions on what to ask yourself and to start integrating into your life. There's a process. It's important that you do this because you're going to gain heightened awareness, purpose, and confidence within asking those questions. So this is an evolution. This is your evolution, your process. And this is just day one, brothers and sisters. All right, tool number 2, we have an emotional bank. Again, this is an awareness. So when you start looking at those 10 questions I gave you in tool 1 for awareness, how do I speak my truth? Am I in an environment that I can? Do I feel safe? Am I authentically showing up? Who am I authentically showing up? Can I speak my truth? What is my truth? All of that. Now, the emotional bank, I want you to start looking at it because I'm going back to that subconscious, right? This is all making you more aware, coming up here versus being, well, with your head in the sand or denial. And you know what? I say that with love because I was in denial, because that is I was in denial for years. And I also took the victim role. So if this is ringing true to you, meaning the victim role, or just didn't want to look at those things because it was scary. And then, oh my God, I had to take accountability and responsibility for my actions or inactions and behavior or lack of behavior. So when I chose responsibility, accountability, and being empowered, that's the key. being empowered. I am choosing to be powerful. Then I take accountability for myself. I've had all this awareness, right? Now I'm taking this accountability that I'm not going to be the victim anymore. I'm going to have a heightened awareness of my surroundings, my life, my values, my morals, my personal code of conduct, the business that I was talking about earlier, what that culture is for me, what that culture is outside. Then I was able to start really building my confidence, making choices based on my new trust of self, because I knew who I was from my personal code of conduct. So you can see there's this little process that's going to start happening. So with the emotional bank and the number 2, this is what I want you to look at. Are you catching yourself in that negative self-talk? Remember, that subconscious, self-conscious, or subconscious limiting beliefs. We need to make sure that you're aware and catching yourself. So how do you do that? Catching yourself in that negative self-talk. You can wear a rubber band and you can thwack it on your wrist. I tally in the car, because when I go, there's lots of times you kind of go unconscious in the car. You're just on autopilot, right? So I make it a practice to stay in heightened awareness and watch the language, because it's real easy to slip back in that old habit of unconscious. It's so easy. And I'm not saying you have to do this 24/7, because I do understand the value of checking out. But if you've been doing that 90% of your time, that's not a good idea. So let's go into awareness. Do little chicken scratches. Just find a piece of paper, do something, and just do little chicken scratches. You can do it on your phone, whatever works for you. But there's a huge, huge nugget of value in this. When you start that awareness, the chicken scratches of your emotional bank, you will start being in awareness going, oh my God, look at that old pattern, that old habit of worthiness and self-doubt. When you have that new awareness, now you have the new education. Education being how nasty you are being to yourself, that negative self-talk. It could be stuff about, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot. It could be anger towards yourself or resentments. And looking at that. Oh, and that shame. We talked about shame and guilt. Remember that shame and guilt? When do you shrink, or when do you stand in your power? When do you feel that you can trust the atmosphere, or trust your environment to be able to stand in your power? Or when do you shrink? I want you to look at that. When do you expand? What kind of language are you finding that you contract around certain people, and worthiness comes up, shame comes up? Really start having a heightened awareness of that, because now you are in power. You are using purposeful, powerful tools and tips, so you can now change instead of being in that victim role. If you want to be in the victim role and keep your head down, that's fine, but you're here for a reason. You're here because that doesn't suit you anymore. You're here because you have made the choice to change your inner world and to get real life tools to help you achieve that. And that's what we're doing. So I'm going to play on the assumption that you are done being a victim, that you have completely made the choice to do the work. I love this analogy. I'm giving you the fishing pole or the new pair of glasses. I'm giving you the fishing pole. You choose to go fishing in awareness and clarity and confidence and purpose, all of that yummy, juicy stuff. So yeah, I'm going to make that honest assumption here that you guys are doing that and you have evolved to confidence. All right. So we talked about subconscious and conscious behaviors. I have got, and I promised you guys that special guest, and that's Lisa Marini. I'm going to bring her on in just a minute. I've got one other tool that this is going to help you, because all of those questions and new heightened awarenesses and those shames and resentments and those old emotions, all that stuff's going to come up. So this, I organically thought of this. You have to have the CCs in life, and CCs as in CC in life. And that is compassionate curiosity. That is a suism. So the CCs in life is compassionate curiosity for yourself and others as you transition. Literally, if you need to, put CCs on your wrist, like literally write it out so you truly remember to keep in awareness, because otherwise you're going to get angry and then you're going to have to write another chicken scratch because you cut yourself in awareness. So take a nice deep breath and just have the compassionate curiosity for yourself, because it helps to take the sting out of said situation. So again, have the CCs in life, compassionate curiosity, and have this evolve with you. So with that is first day, and I'm going to hand you off to Lisa Marini, and then we are going to move on to day 2. Enjoy yourself. I know, big pill to swallow today. I love you guys. I believe in you, and you are worth this change. Hang in there. See ya.